So, this is the preset with the shift register. Let me, in short, introduce the patch. Here is the shift register. We have 8 outputs, 8 registers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have here the trigger input. The register is triggered by this LFO, by the square wave output of this LFO. And it samples the output from the mixer with every impulse, with every high from this LFO. Perhaps I should introduce a scope. So yeah, that's okay. A little bit here. So yeah. So oh well, that's quite fast. Let me reduce the frequency of the LFO. So we see with every high of this LFO, there is a trigger impulse sent to the shift register, and the value, which is at that moment when there is arriving a high, at the input, at the other input here, not at the trigger, but at this red cabled input, the value, the voltage level is sampled and sent to the first of these outputs. The content of the first output goes to the second, the content of the second goes to the third, the content of the third goes to the fourth, and so on and so on, and the content of the last vanishes. That's the situation right now. Let me remove this extra scope again. So, and let me increase the frequency again, the trigger frequency. So, but what is triggered? Yeah, the output of the mixer. But what is the input of the mixer? Well, there is at first the LFO, another LFO, a simple sine wave LFO, and the last output of the shift register. So the values of the sine wave are sampled, the voltage levels of the sine wave are sampled at each trigger impulse. I have to sustain these trigger impulses. The trigger impulses have to go on and on and on, because I need the shift register to do its job by shifting the values. But what's not needed and not even not wanted is that permanently new values arrive at the input. So what do? I remove the blue cable coming from this sine wave LFO. And now you see, or better say, yeah, you see and you hear. Let me reduce the scale here a bit. Yeah, you see and you hear that the sequence coming from here is regular. This wave has a certain cycle with a certain length, and this cycle repeats and repeats and repeats from here to here to here and so on. So we have now a regular cycle. Which values there are here? Oh, well, that's a question of randomness, because I didn't know what was actually in the shift registers and what was actually coming in when I removed the cable from channel 1, from output channel 1.